Hello everybody, I'm MattTGM, and welcome to the final episode in the Devil May Cry boss ranking series. Over the last few months, we've seen some truly abysmal, moderately mediocre, and some pretty damn good bosses as we've explored the roster of this game series. But today, it's finally time to look at the best of the best, with the top 10 best bosses in the Devil May Cry series. I'm super excited to dive into these today, for contained within are some of gaming's all-time greatest hits. So, without any further ado, let's get this started. Number 10, King Cerberus. To kick off the top 10, we have a blast from the past, brought back with a new, awesome coat of paint. As Dante chases after Urizen, he comes across the king of all Cerberus, and he takes it about as seriously as he did the last time.
Come on, little puppy. I'll take you out for a walk. Come on, let's go.
It's a great callback, and the fight is awesome as well. Or, at least that's what I'm saying when I'm not raging after being killed by it in the Bloody Palace. This fight is damn tough, but excellently designed. King Cerberus takes the original Cerberus' gimmick of having different attacks depending on which head was in the middle, and runs with it, having 3 different heads for 3 different elements: fire, ice, and lightning. Not only does each head give the boss different attacks, but it also gives him different behaviors. The fire mode will relentlessly chase you down and light you up with swipes and bites. The lightning mode will stay as far away as possible and pepper you from range with tracking orbs and lightning waves across the ground. And the frost mode sits in the middle of the arena, creating a bunch of ice structures, and does his attacks while stationary, such as summoning icicles from above to rain down upon you. It's a great amount of variety, keeping the fight fresh at all times. You even have a level of control over which phase you fight. By smashing the face of the head that's active with enough damage, it switches to the next phase, though no heads will actually ever die, so you'll keep cycling through all the heads for the entirety of the fight. King Cerberus is damn demanding, he hits super hard, but he's an excellent battle that asks the player to keep adapting on the fly, and that's why he's so good. He makes sure you're ready for the finale ahead. Number 9, Goliath. From one giant beast to another, we have the Goliath. The first true boss of Devil May Cry 5, and goddamn, it is the perfect way to up the stakes in this game as well as set the mood for what's to come. What can I say? I like bosses that have overwhelming power and very few annoying gimmicks. This is a very straight up fight, no other way of saying it. It's you versus him, both trying to kill each other with extreme force. After a great intro cutscene, showcasing Nero's newer, more individual personality, Goliath brings the pain with big monkey swipes and slams, all while you stay in the air and enemies step all over that massive hitbox like a dominatrix, slicing him apart. Eventually, he does the stomp so much that the floor caves in, and you have a mini phase 2 in the church. Avoid his new pillar sweeps and continue the beatdown before his stomach gets hungry, and proceeds to eat the entire church via Vornado. We leave and watch as the church collapses on top of him, killing him for good. Rest in peace to a worthy oh, nope, he's perfectly fine. Well, let's keep it going, because this is where the real fight begins. He keeps all the same attacks as before, plus a new charge attack, and he can eat nearby rubble and cars to spit it at you out of his stomach in the form of giant molten fireballs. That's just a remarkable boss design, and I love it. You can knock the projectiles back at him with certain devil arms, so don't think there's any move he makes that you can't retort to. Well, apart from the aforementioned stomach tornado. Just run away from that one. On another note, if you are worried that the buster moves in Devil May Cry 5 would be toned down compared to the last game, Goliath will put those to rest, at least upon a replay when you actually gain access to them by this point in the game. Intercept Goliath's charge attack, and you spin him right round, baby. Right round. You even end up chucking him into this giant building and have it collapse on top of him. An awesome bit of environmental interaction. Goliath's just an awesome boss all up, full of spectacle, personality, character moments, a badass soundtrack, and a fun yet fair challenge for the early game that will test your skills and make sure you're ready to keep going and keep being awesome, even if V is a filthy kill stealer. Number 8, Nello Angelo. It's been a long time coming, but here we see the first appearance of the true Virgil on our list, or rather, Goth Virgil, also known as Nello Angelo. This boss was easily the highlight of the first Devil May Cry game for me. Clashing blades with your equal is always something I love doing in video games, and this guy provided a very satisfying fight each time I came across him. The first time round, he comes out of a mirror looking like you, reveals his true self, and immediately gets you to throw down with him outside. He's a straight up knight fight, swinging his sword in much the same way you do. Unfortunately for him, you are still faster and don't rely on 2001 AI, so beating him isn't too taxing so long as you can keep an eye on your HP and take him down fairly quickly. He then kicks your ass in a cutscene straight afterward. I wonder if this will become a trend with Virgil fights. The second fight is much the same, except you're in a different arena and he throws a bit more at you. A new sword swing here and there, as well as more aggressive AI. If you've been learning how to play the game properly, you should be able to take him down much the same as you did last time. There's not too much more difficulty here. The third fight, however, is where things get interesting. The boss takes off his helmet and we see Virgil's face for the first time, though we have no idea who he is at this point. From that point on, Virgil breaks out all the stops to try and kill you, attacking with more aggression than anything else in the game and firing his signature summon swords at you. He's also bigger now. Do you think he has a bigger dick? These three battles are the peak of Devil May Cry 1 and it's not even close. They're more flowy than anything in that game. Devil May Cry 2, even some of the bosses in Devil May Cry 3. The story significance revealed after the battle is over, as well as the added tidbits in Devil May Cry 5, really add to the fight as well and make it one of the greatest in the series even 21 years later. Hats off to you guys, you made one hell of a fight. Quite an impressive showing for Virgil. I wonder if we'll see him anymore on the list before it's over. And with that, Devil May Cry 1 is removed from the rankings. While it may be dated by today's standards by quite a bit, the game is still worth a playthrough in my opinion. It's very clear as to why it inspired such a legacy, and it's still fun to play even today. Plus, the bosses hold up really well even today, which I hope I've articulated throughout this series. So thanks Devil May Cry 1, thank you Kamiya, you did good kid. Then you moved on and you made a even better game about a dominatrix. You've had an exciting life. Number 7, Nirvana. Jeez, this opening boss cutscene though. Just like Nirvana's the second best boss in Devil May Cry 3, that intro scene is the second most suggestive cutscene in the series. It's entertaining and it sets you up well for the fight. Nirvana attacks you with black magic, energy projectiles, spikes, even kissing you at one point to steal your health. I know I should be upset that she's killing me, and I am actually. My S rank is far more valuable than a pesky demon wench. Surprisingly, her seductive dialogue keeps going throughout the fight, and it's actually one of the core mechanics. Depending on the one-liner she gives you, that tells you what attack she's about to perform, and therefore clues you into how you should react. It's cool stuff honestly, intuitive game design and keeping in character. Dodging around or jumping over her attacks is the best way to go, at which point you just smack her a whole bunch while she sits completely still. I guess Devil May Cry 3 hadn't really invented stagger physics yet, or maybe she's just that buff. The battle doesn't really evolve or change throughout, but when the base level is already so good and fun to play, I'm not going to complain that it stays the same. Nirvana's a fun fight with a load of character, and Dante celebrating is easily one of the highlights of the entire franchise. Absolutely legendary. See Itsuno? If you design all your bosses this well, we're more than happy for you to live out your boss rush fantasies. Number 6, Urizen. If you're wondering whether I'm talking about Urizen 1, 2, or 3, yes. So I briefly considered being really salty and knocking this boss down a step or two because of the several ass kickings I've been handed by all 3 of his forms, but I'm not about to knock a boss because of my own skill issues. Otherwise, every single Dark Souls boss would have been F tier besides Pinwheel. Urizen is technically Virgil, so that brings our count of Virgils up to 3 so far, and he brings 3 different battles to the game, and 6 battles in total throughout the runtime. Yeah, you end up fighting this guy a lot. Thankfully, he's incredible. The first battle has him care so little about your start of the game power level and noob skills, that he doesn't even get off his ass to fight you. He just sits on his chair and fires several magic spells, such as time manipulation, ground eruptions, and bouncing fireballs, while you smack his crystallized shield. Destroy that, and you get a chance to wail on him for a bit. In the Mission 8 fight, this ends this phase of the battle immediately, but in the start of the game, this lets you start chopping down his health bar. The shield regenerates over time, so be quick about it, but if you kill him, then he dies. That's it. In the prologue, you've just beaten the game. Very fun little Easter egg. In Mission 8 proper, once you've scratched him after taking his shield down, Scratched him, mind, all that effort for a drop of blood. He decides to take you seriously and stands up, revealing this man is covered in more tentacles than an anime waifu in a depraved weeaboo's mind. It's a bad thing too, because these tentacles are absolute bitches to dodge. Trickster, Royal Guard, Air Hike, Gerberer, Table Hopper, nothing I ever do is enough to avoid this bastard of a move, at least not without the grace of Sparta. He also throws super strong and telegraphed punches, as well as more magic attacks, but the tentacles here are the main issue. Their tracking is nuts. The crystal shield is back too, so you need to break it and cut down his health bar. Same as fight number 1, it's just much harder. In Mission 8, you can actually still do this as Nero, but you won't. This boss is hard. Thankfully, when we come back as Dante at the end of Mission 12, we are basically required to wreck his shit with our brand new Sin Devil Trigger, otherwise known as Super Satan 3, in one of the most badass moments in the entire game. Urizen is still hard, don't get me wrong, especially on the higher difficulties, but SDT is enough to shatter that crystal with ease, and his health bar won't be far behind. It's one of my favourite moments in the game, especially accompanied by the legendary OST. Once you beat him here, he fucks off for 5 missions until Mission 17, where we get actual verbal confirmation that he's Virgil, despite us having been told that 5 missions ago and figuring it out at the very start of the game. The story behind Urizen is fairly simple, but it's pretty awesome and offers a real study into Virgil's character, especially factoring in V and his role in things. It is a bit of a shame that V doesn't get to fight Urizen, because that's a stop hitting yourself joke waiting to happen. Alas, Urizen eats the Glyphoth fruit, or the tax evasion apple if you're a cultured individual, and sheds the armor. To quote Nico's journal entries, it was just slowing him down at that point. Badass. He now fights you like a brawler, engaging in backflips, fuck-off soccer kicks, and just straight punching you. Unfortunately for him, we're all the way down here, and he is up there. So him punching down takes quite a while, and means his attacks aren't particularly hard to read and therefore avoid or counter with Royal Guard. It's actually a pretty viable strategy, building it up for a royal release later in the battle. With how girthy his health bar is, you'll want that sort of help. In Phase 2, Urizen gains the ability to Trickster style, or Darkslayer given his character, and breaks out the magic attacks. We've got pink tracking summon swords, the time slow orbs, and the ground explosions, as well as others, and he can string these together in deadly combos in quick succession. Thankfully, Trickster style is usually enough to avoid all of this, and he won't smack you with melee during this phase. Get in close, get in the air, and drive your motorbike all over his chest eye. However, then we get to Phase 3. And Phase 3 is fucking terrifying. The combination of the music, change in scenery, and just the atmosphere of the battle makes this phase arguably the scariest thing in the entire base game. He now has much more aggressive attacks and longer follow-ups, new magic attacks like huge sweeping lasers that linger on the battlefield, and he is much more angry at you now. Look at the way he walks towards you. It's so menacing. The worst attack is where he causes spikes to erupt from the ground around him, then immediately comes in to smack your shit with a thunderous Mike Tyson uppercut. This is the scariest attack in the game, which thankfully isn't too hard to dodge, but if you don't, better hope your health bar is still sizable, or else. Urizen 3 gets my vote for the second hardest fight in the game overall, especially on Dante Must Die and Hell in Hell, but it's a fantastic fight with high stakes, high requirements of the player, and massive amounts of satisfaction when you do it right. While more dynamic than the fights in Devil May Cry 1 and Virgil in Devil May Cry 3, Urizen does a great job at being an evolving fight throughout the game, bringing you familiar elements combined with new attacks to form a fantastic series of battles that are a joy to learn and play through. He is a great Virgil. Oh, wait, he's only half of him. He's the best Virgil. Number 5, Cavalier Angelo. Hey, check it out guys, it's Nello Angelo's little sister. I'm being figurative of course, I know the law. And oh boy, does her youth and access to updated gameplay mechanics do her a world of good in terms of difficulty and quality. Yes, I'm calling it a her, because this boss has a lady inside of it. No, not lady, that was back in the last episode. It's this lady, Trish. I know that's confusing, but just roll with it. Thank you, Japan. I love taking on this boss, even if it is one of the more challenging fights in the game. Remember when this Johnny was on the back of the horse? Well, if she'd chosen to get off, she might have actually been able to kill us. Though, judging by her performance in the boss rush, not likely. Cavalier is a fast and skilled swordswoman, attacking you in combos of 3 to 4 slashes usually, all charged with lightning for extra damage. She also has several forms of lightning attacks, easy to block lightning balls, long charging AoEs of lightning, even attacks where she teleports right next to you and smacks you, before repeating it immediately to rack up that super sexy style combo score. However, what happens when you hit one sword with another sword? Well, it causes a parry. Every time you attack with any weapon and connect during one of Cavalier's sword strikes, it causes a small parry, negating the attack and often leading her to try again in the next second. Parry enough times though and you'll knock Cavalier into a stunned state, opening up the chance for a whole bunch of uninterrupted damage. It's a great skill-based mechanic, really makes you feel like you're fighting with an expert blade master, despite how simple the mechanic is on paper. Timing is crucial, otherwise you'll be the one getting sliced, but this is Devil May Cry. We should be used to high skill demands by now, and we know how to surpass them. Cavalier Angelo represents that factor of the game wholeheartedly. As your skill increases, the more fun the fight will become, and the more badass you look. Which kind of sums up the franchise, really. Oh, and when you defeat this boss, you turn it into a motorbike. Which is also dual wieldable chain swords. This is one of the greatest games ever made. Number 4, Dante from Devil May Cry 4. The highlight of DMC4 is your rematch with the legendary Devil Hunter himself, Dante. After he was an easy but serviceable tutorial boss, I was honestly kind of fearing the rematch. I'd heard everywhere that he was damn near impossible and harder than any other fight in the game by far. But I beat him first try on both normal mode with Nero and hard mode with Virgil. So, thankfully, the fight has more than just hypothetically impossible difficulty. It has outstanding, quantifiable quality. Dante fights much like you would if you were playing as him. He attacks with the familiar triple triangle combo strikes, he hits you with the classic downward slash as well as the stinger, and he can even swap between his 4 styles. Swordmaster, where he swords slightly harder than usual, Trickster, where he moves around at supersonic speeds, Gunslinger, where he attacks with sweeping bursts from ebony and ivory, as well as shooting your bullets out of the air like a boss, and Royal Guard, where he just sits there while invincible, letting you tire yourself out, and not counter-attacking from what I can tell. You do you, Chief. Unconventional warfare tactics. It's a lot of variety, and it's an engaging fight. He's open to busters on occasion, though it seems you need to be in Devil Trigger and stun him to make that happen. And those are the main reasons I won that first battle. Dante is not an easy fight, in spite of my first time victory. On hard mode, he'll even break out the Gilgamesh gauntlets, giving you even more to watch out for. It's a very cool idea for a fight, being able to face off against the legendary Devil Hunter you've been playing as for 3 games, and that's why he's so high up on the list. I can only imagine how incredible a modern version of this fight would be. And with that, we say goodbye to Devil May Cry 4. While the game is very hit or miss, and by that I mean you play the same game 1.5 times, I still had a lot of fun with it. The updated mechanics, the introduction of Nero, it all led to a fun first time experience, and playing as Virgil made the second time around not so much of a slog. While I wish we'd gotten the chance to see what the game could have been with an extended development time, we got some damn good bosses out of it. Well done guys, you can hold your heads up proudly. Number 3, Virgil from Devil May Cry 3. Of course, the only one capable of outpacing the legendary Devil Hunter would be his twin brother, Virgil, the backbone of Devil May Cry 3, one of the most iconic bosses in all of gaming history, a legend of the PS2 era, Virgil. No last name given. After being little more than a plot twist in the original Devil May Cry, and not being in Devil May Cry 2 at all because he's far too good for that trash, Virgil becomes the main antagonist of DMC3. Yes, Arkham is arguably a more devious character, but Virgil ties the game together in gameplay and story. You face him 3 times throughout, and he is a much better example of an evolving boss fight than anything in Devil May Cry 1. The first fight is in a rainstorm on top of a giant demon tower. You've fought your way through demons, demon dogs, demon swords, demon perverts, and a regular woman to get to this fight. And goddamn, this atmosphere is unmatched. It is one of the single greatest moments in the entire franchise, seeing these two staring across from each other. And then, what proceeds is one of the hardest battles in the game. Virgil uses the Yamato to slice and dice Dante down with lightning quick slashes and closing maneuvers. He can combo you, he barely staggers for anything, and he is especially motivated. He's a true beast. And I beat him first try. Nice. After getting your ass handed to you in the following cutscene, see, I told you it'd become a trend, and then him proceeding to drop some fire lines.
Might controls everything, and without strength, you cannot protect anything.
He biggity bounces to the bottom of the tower, killing Arkham along the way, except he kinda screwed that up. He also kill steals Beowulf and kill steals the weapon. Hopefully he doesn't use that in our next battle. Oh fuck, he's using it in our next battle. And this time I didn't beat him first try. I got my ass kicked. A lot. Beowulf hits hard and stuns you even harder. Plus Virgil actually cares to break out Devil Trigger this time, which makes him even more unstaggerable, makes him hit even harder, and he now heals, meaning you're encouraged to be aggressive during this time of imminent death, otherwise he'll control Z your progress back to nothing. It's a great risk-reward balance that really ups the stakes of the battle. After he gets down to roughly half health, he'll bring Yamato back out and continue the slicing and dicing you've seen before, but with even more of it. There's not too much story significance to discuss around the second battle, Arkham mainly steals the show, but the third fight is where it all comes to a head. The ideological battle between Dante and Virgil reaches its climax, with the half-demon embracing his humanity against the half-human desperately trying to become a true demon, fighting over the amulets of Eva and the fate of the world. I won't get too deep into the story because video length, but the entire game tells this tale brilliantly, and it adds so much emotional depth to this finale. The final battle sees Virgil dual-wielding Force Edge with Yamato, unlocking new combos and bringing you death in more ways than ever before. Not only does he have new attacks like Stinger and Helmbreaker, the latter of which he spams to hell in the final third of the battle, but he can also invoke Judgment Cut Storm. So Judgment Cut is his swordsman and anime technique that he uses in battles 2 and 3 with Yamato. Judgment Cut Storm is where he spams it across the entire arena. If you get caught in the center of this, you better hope you have enough DT to heal, or you're going to be trying again. Thankfully, you've now got every weapon and likely high health and Devil Trigger energy by this time in the game, so it's a classic case of your full power against his. It's a very tough fight, but it's so good. The emotions are blazing, the mechanics are brilliantly polished, the arena, which is a river on the edges of Hell and Earth, is a perfect setting for the finale, and the story before and after the battle is among the series' highest heights. Every battle with Virgil in this game is a treat. It's a perfect way to continue testing and innovating your skills while delivering a brilliant fight each and every time. Virgil is a legend for a reason, and in any other gaming franchise, something like this would easily be the best fight in the entire series lineup. But, well, we've got 2 spots left. What could possibly be above this, you may ask? Number 2, Virgil from Devil May Cry 5. Yeah, it turns out we've still got one more Virgil to cover. That's 1 Nello, 2 Virgil DMC3, 3 Vorgil, 4 Urizen, technically 5 with Nightmare, and now 6. Half a dozen Virgils, and the newest one is the greatest of them all. Yep, the only one that can outshine Virgil is himself from the future. That's just how alpha he is. All of Devil May Cry 5's story is dedicated to bringing this man back to the franchise in his full glory, and hot damn, is he full and is he glorious. Virgil is in this story in his true form for like 40 minutes tops, and he is easily the star of the show the entire time. He steals the show from the second he turns around, and the boss battle with him lives up to every expectation you could possibly have. The 14 years of hype since these brothers last crossed swords, and it was worth the wait. This was my first experience with the Virgil fight, seeing as DMC5 was my first game in the franchise, and it absolutely blew me away from start to finish. You start off as Dante, and it's a classic case of your full power against his full power. Only, now you each have a lot more power to play with. Virgil carries many of the same moves he had in the previous battles. Rapid Slash, his classic 3-hit sword combo, a faster 5-hit sword combo, Judgment Cut, even a powerful new grab stun attack. And all of it is polished with the beautiful mechanics of Devil May Cry 5. He actually staggers now and can be juggled in the air for a bit, but this doesn't take away from the fight, it just makes the battle flow a bit more smoothly, and evens up the playing field, seeing as he'll be staggering you just as much if not more. Especially when he takes off the kid gloves and breaks out his brand new Sin Devil trigger. It looks intimidating as hell, and it lives up to the expectations you'll have after playing with Dante's for a few missions now. You thought one judgment cut was bad? Try 3, or 4 on Son of Sparta difficulty and above. You liked his downward slash attack? Try it 3 times in a row followed by a rapid slash. Or 3 times in a row followed by 4 rapid speed judgment cuts. Sin Devil Trigger Virgil is lightning fast, and he strings together his attacks so much quicker than before, in addition to the pre-established healing. After a while, he just straight up flies around the arena and tries to ram into you 3 times. It hurts about as bad as you'd think it would, so try, I don't know, jumping? And mind the summon swords. I recommend Rainstorm or just spamming triangle, because if they stun you long enough for him to hit you, that's at least half your health bar gone. After this, Virgil will turn back to his normal form, though he will pop back into Devil Trigger periodically. He gains access to Judgment Cut End, the devastating super move he first obtained in Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, and he also keeps the increased number of attacks he got during his Sin Devil Trigger phase, such as the 3 to 4 Judgment Cuts. In the final stage of the battle, he summons a doppelganger. Eat your heart out, Virgil. Virgil is incredibly demanding of you, requiring a lot of skill to obtain victory against. I hear some people say that Royal Guard can trivialize this fight, and I agree to an extent, but the final doppelganger phase nullifies that for me almost completely, because it screws with your rhythm, forcing you to focus on 2 targets at once. So I don't think Royal Guard hurts this fight at all, it's just an optional strategy you can apply if you want to. To give you a TLDR, Virgil is an absolutely brilliant fight, a perfect back and forth duel. Once it's over, you get one of the greatest cutscenes in the franchise, if not the absolute best, and the second fight begins as the son now faces the father. The fight as Nero has all of the qualities I mentioned earlier, and is just as good, but as Nero, the battle has a different feel and flow. Virgil now gets stunned periodically, understandable given this fight takes place directly after the strenuous bout with Dante, and this gives Nero a chance to do badass buster attacks on him, like mutual stabbings, or just smashing Virgil and his doppelganger together, which coincidentally causes the lyrics of the battle theme to kick in and an excellent showcase of dynamic music. You can even buster Virgil in the middle of his air charge, leading to a badass DDT, one of the coolest buster moves in all of existence. The fight with Nero is certainly easier than the battle with Dante, and I like to say that's because this isn't Virgil's boss fight anymore. This is Nero's boss fight. The boss theme is yours. It's about showing off the power that the younger Devil Hunter has obtained throughout the story, and letting the player feel that power, which is an amazing payoff in terms of narrative. In repeat fights, especially on higher difficulties, Virgil is still a challenging fight, but Nero's combat style works just as well as Dante's, and it's an easier fight on average because of the additional openings, though no less amazing in terms of quality. Do not let me imply that for a second. Virgil gets everything spot on. The story payoff, the perfect mechanics, the excellent battle themes, the fun and fair challenge, the arena, everything. He's the perfect boss, and an easy choice for the best in the entire franchise. Well, he would be. Except for one more late entry. I honestly never thought Virgil would be topped as a boss. When I first fought him in May of 2020, I was like, right, that's it. Boss perfection. He's better than Senator Armstrong. It's over. Can't be beat, won't be beat. And then they announced Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. In the past, Special Editions have let you play as alternate characters throughout the campaign missions, just with no cutscenes, and in the specific case of playing as Virgil in DMC3, you got to fight Red Coat Virgil, so you could tell your characters apart. So, coming into Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition and getting to play as the best Virgil we've ever had access to, we weren't sure if this would be a similar case. Would we fight Red Virgil again? Or would they do the unthinkable? It's goddamn it, Suno. They did the unthinkable. And it's my great honor to announce the final boss of Virgil's campaign and the best boss in the entire Devil May Cry series is Dante from Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. the single most excellent boss I have ever fought in my life. Before I start fanboying, let me throw out a quick caveat. Devil May Cry 5 Virgil is just as excellent. These fights are practically tied in my mind. It's like a Baldur and Freya / Sigrun situation. Their spots could change depending on my mood. Virgil has more story significance for sure, seeing as that fight is actually canon, but Dante mechanically is just so good to fight and play against that I had to give him the top spot. And hell, you want emotional weight behind your boss battle? This is still the same battle between brothers, just from Virgil's perspective. All those years of build-up, all the multiple games we've built this rivalry through, it all comes to a head here in one final excellent clash. And I'd argue this fight has additional emotions behind it because of the context of the fight itself from an outside perspective. This is more than just the final battle in Virgil's campaign, more than just the final fight of Devil May Cry 5 on the whole. This is a goodbye to the Devil May Cry franchise, because as sad as it is, this is likely the last content we will ever get with Dante, Virgil, Nero, and the rest of the original cast from the original story. At least, this is the conclusion of the original timeline. And what better way to send off this universe that we love than with one final battle against the legendary Devil Hunter. And believe me, legendary is more than earned as an adjective. In Mission 19, you fight a Dante who has Trickster, Gunslinger, Swordmaster, and a new terrifying Royal Guard. You hear him say Royal Guard and see him strutting towards you menacingly? Be afraid, and be damn careful. His counters here are no joke. He also has the Devil Sword Dante, Balrog, Ebony and Ivory, Coyote A, and scariest of all, Cavalier. You never quite understand the intimidation and absurdity of a man dual-wielding motorcycle chainswords until you are the one on the receiving end of it. It is glorious, and they hit super hard. He'll also Devil Trigger on occasion when he's lower on health, gaining all the benefits that you would if you were playing as him. Healing, damage, and the benefits from the Devil Sword Dante, such as the double hits in the Swordmaster style. This fight is hard, the hardest one in the game alongside King Cerberus and Urizen 3. Dante takes a lot of punishment and dishes it out tenfold. He can either whittle you down with gunfire and Royal Guard reflections, or catch you in a Cavalier attack and laugh as your health bar dwindles down to nothing while you're stunned into standing still. Eventually, you'll triumph though, and witness the cutscene from the main campaign's Mission 19, as the two brothers charge at each other. And then Nero never arrives. They slash past each other, drop back into their base forms, Bury the Light kicks in the background, and the true battle begins. Mission 20 is, and I quote, on some anime shit. Dante uses his entire arsenal now, adding in King Cerberus, Kalina Ann 1 and 2, he even breaks out the goddamn cowboy hat Dr. Faust to drop some serious disrespect on you. He mixes all of his weapons together in varying combos at lightning fast speeds, all alternating depending on what style he's using. It really feels like fighting a player controlling Dante. You can learn his patterns, sure, but he's got so many of them you'll need a journal to take notes mid-fight after every death. And scariest of all, he can break out the Sin Devil Trigger. You know that Super Satan 3 that let you intimidate bosses and crush their health bars? Yeah, now he's doing it to you. He'll only do 1 to 2 attacks while in the form, but they are truly terrifying to behold, especially his super finisher move, Judgment. It hits about as hard as you'd expect, and if you're caught in it, unless you can DT or doppelganger out of it, you're along for the whole ride, a la the Wombo combo from the Soul of Cinder. However, when he drops out of Sin Devil Trigger, he'll be stunned for a brief moment, and that is your opportunity to strike. You want to know how to defeat Dante? To paraphrase the in-game hint, bring the fight to him. This is the legendary Dante. You've followed this man's journey for 5 games now. You've seen his struggles, his triumphs. You and Dante have conquered the greatest challenges of the franchise together, and now he's standing before you at the peak of his power. So take Virgil, the most powerful playable character in Devil May Cry history, and take the fucking fight right to him. Your full power against his full power. Dante throws out a crazy Cavalier combo, I respond with triple judgment cuts and a Beowulf slam from the sky. Dante uses Royal Guard, I bait the counter, Avoid it by tricking and capitalize on the opening with any one of my crazy combos. He gets my health bar down low, build up some concentration, bust out World of V. He breaks out Sin Devil Trigger, dodge whatever attack comes my way, and retaliate with Judgment Cut End. There is no greater feeling of power than the battle between these two brothers, and it's the perfect fight to conclude this franchise. It may lack the true story significance and payoff that Nero vs. Virgil brings, but the gameplay that's at the height of the franchise, the emotions it brings, they are special all on their own. Dante is a hard fight. He's a surprising fight. He's a satisfying fight. And he is the best fight in the entire Devil May Cry series. And that concludes the 6-part boss ranking series. 6 episodes for 6 games in the franchise. Would you look at that for a coincidence? Thank you everybody so much for watching this series. Seeing the view counts from episode 2 onwards reach triple digits within 24 hours made me so happy. And it's been a pleasure to make these videos for you all on a game series that I love dearly. I just want to point out that the top 4 bosses in this list are all the same 2 characters. I find that funny. Did you agree with my rankings? What were your best and worst bosses in the Devil May Cry series? Please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love nothing more than to get that discussion going. There's one more Devil May Cry ranking video that I have planned, but that'll have to come a bit later, because first we're taking a trip to rank the bosses of another demon hunter, the Doomslayer, and I'd hope to see you all there for more awesome action. Thank you all once again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.